excellent speakers. Two excellent speakers from ANERA. ANERA stands for American Near East Refugee Aid. Okay.
Yeah.
And these two speakers, the first one is Elizabeth Obedat. Is that how you say it, Elizabeth?
Abedat. So, there's not a
Obedat.
good English for
Okay. So she is currently working as ANERA digital fundraising and coordinator based in Washington, D.C. That's where she is right now, and have been with ANERA for over 2 years. Among other things, she manages ANERA's monthly giving campaign, assists with their email and digital communications and fundraising, and writes reports for ANERA's programs. Okay. The second speaker is Michelle Kumar. She's a first year, she's working on Masters of Public Policy, a student at the American University, and received her undergraduate degree in International Studies and Ethics and Public Policy from the University of Iowa. Currently, she is the fundraising communications intern for ANERA. Prior to working at ANERA, she has worked for Iowa Legal Aid, local government, and the Institute for International Business. So please join me in welcoming Elizabeth to our December Amnesty International meeting. Thank you. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Michelle was kind enough to record her portion of the presentation a little earlier. December is a very busy time of year for any nonprofit. I'm sure you all are inundated with emails. Thank you so much again for having me. As Mohammed said, I've worked at ANERA for 2.5 years now. I found out about ANERA when I was actually in my undergrad. I was doing a report on waste siting in the West Bank and found some resources on how ANERA was doing solid waste management programs throughout the region. And they'd put out a few reports on just information from the area, since all of the staff come from the countries that they serve in. And I saw an open position. I decided to apply. I do have a personal connection to the region. My family is Jordanian and Palestinian. My grandmother was a Palestinian refugee who was displaced to Amman, Jordan. So that's a bit of my personal cause for getting involved in ANERA's work. First of all, I do want to let Michelle's presentation go. I will have a little bit of a follow-up after the fact. I have a couple of programs in Gaza specifically that I'll focus on, that I have a bit of a bigger hand in helping out with.
Hello, my name is Michelle Kumar, and I'm an intern with ANERA. Tonight, I will be talking a little bit about our work in Jordan, Lebanon, and Palestine. First, a little bit about ANERA. After the Arab-Israeli War ended in 1967, there was a large need to provide aid to refugees. American Near East Refugee Aid, now ANERA, was formed in response. Since then, ANERA has provided humanitarian aid to the people of Jordan, Lebanon, and Palestine. ANERA is able to maintain a strong and dependable presence in these countries by having no religious or political affiliation. We've been able to build long-standing trust and relationships among these communities because our staff are from the communities ANERA serves. Here you will see a few of our program areas, include economic development
and West Africa. First though, let's talk to Asser.
Humanitarian relief. ANERA focuses on creating sustainable change in the communities in which we work. Each of our program areas cover a wide range of projects that target the specific needs of the communities they will be enacted in. While much of our work is focused on long-term change, we also provide emergency aid during times of crisis, such as directly after the Beirut blast or the violence in Palestine this past summer, and even in direct response to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Here you will see a few of our programming areas in Lebanon and Jordan. Anira's programming is cross-collaborative within our program areas and across Palestine, Lebanon, and Jordan. This provides comprehensive and sustainable support to vulnerable communities and refugees. With the economic crisis and pandemic in Lebanon, recent programs have targeted healthcare and job opportunities for economically disadvantaged youth and refugees. For example, in partnership with UNICEF, Anira has implemented an initiative to teach youth water and sanitation construction work. Many medicines are scarce in Lebanon, and with the help of generous donors, Anira has been able to deliver medicines to treat sickle cell disease, diabetes, psychiatric conditions, and more. The pandemic has made safely attending school impossible for children in Lebanon, and distance learning isn't always a sure solution to the lack of availability of internet connection. Anira collaborated with the Orstrom Foundation to provide tablets for school children so they can learn from home. Second only to Gaza, Jordan hosts a large amount of Palestinian refugees in camps. Much of the work Anira does in the country is based in Syrian and Palestinian refugee camps. Anira has been able to expand its women's empowerment program, Women Can, to Jordan, where vocational training, health education, and business cooperatives benefit women. Life in refugee camps is already extremely difficult, and resources are limited. Through partnerships and donations, Anira has been able to deliver school books so children can learn and vital medications to improve living conditions. Gaza is one of the most densely populated places on Earth. Gaza hosts 8 refugee camps, and a majority of the population are Palestinian refugees. Poverty is everywhere in Gaza, and quality of life has severely deteriorated due to the economic blockade and ongoing violence. Anira's work in Gaza focuses on meeting basic needs and improving quality of life through sustainable projects. One of our program areas, healthcare, covers programming for mental health care, treating celiac disease, and mass creation and distribution. With the resulting trauma from the ongoing violence, mental health is often overlooked. Anira has been able to distribute antidepressants as part of a medical aid package. Most medications are hard to come by in Gaza, including those that treat celiac disease. In partnership with Direct Relief, Anira has distributed medication to treat celiac disease as well. The ongoing COVID-19 pandemic has devastated healthcare systems around the world, and logistics surrounding care are particularly difficult in Gaza. One way Anira responded to this crisis was by replicating an employment program from our Lebanese colleagues, where a woman made 90,000 face masks and distributed them in northern Gaza. One of our other program areas in Gaza is economic development. This covers providing meals in schools, improving water quality, rooftop gardens, and greenhouses. This past year, Anira has started providing meals in schools to ensure children are being fed and going to school. As part of our integrated feeding program, Farms to Schools, Anira has supplied 27,313 nutritious meals to 10 kindergartens in North Gaza and Gaza City. Anira is also focused on improving water quality and access, as clean water is a vital piece of everyday life. Infrastructure has not been repaired after bombings, and it is difficult to do so because of the blockade. With the help of generous donors, Anira has been able to install 6 reverse osmosis systems, with more to come. One of our long-standing projects is our greenhouse and rooftop gardens program. Growing food in Palestine, particularly Gaza, is extremely difficult. The gardens use a modified hydroponic system that is easy for farmers to operate, uses 50 to 70% less water than conventional systems, and is more resilient, attracting fewer bugs and diseases. Rooftop gardens provide fresh food to families and act as a source of livelihood. They even help create healthy meals as part of our child development and women's empowerment programs. Another program area in Gaza is our emergency response. Emergency meal disbursement also took place during the escalated violence this past year. In partnership with World Kitchen, Anir was able to distribute 15,400 hot meals to those displaced by the bombings. A large part of our emergency response programming is focused on infrastructure repair. After the ceasefire this past summer, Anira was able to help 495 farmers with greenhouse construction and repair, link 1,152 homes with repaired and upgraded water networks, connect 316 homes to a new wastewater network that prevented flooding and contamination of the main aquifer. We were also able to rehabilitate 2 water wells that serve 50,000 residents in Jabalia and Khan Yunis. Anira is proud to be able to have strong partnerships and to better serve refugee communities. Here you can see a few of our partners, and our donors come from all 50 states. We have donors from over 30 countries, and donations through major contributions, monthly giving, stock giving, zakat giving, workplace giving, and one-time project contributions. We are proud to be a 4-star charity with Charity Navigator, a longtime member of the Better Business Bureau. We're trusted by thousands of individual donors, and we have been a USAID recipient since 1972. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation. Elizabeth will be on afterwards to answer any questions, and her contact information is on this slide.
Apologies, I had a little trouble finding my unmute button. I think this far into the pandemic, that'd be a little easier to find, but thank you so much. Again, like I said, Michelle is unable to attend, but it was great for her to be able to give a brief overview of Anera's work, our history in Gaza as well. I am going to kind of give a little more context on the situation in Gaza as well as our work in Gaza before I elaborate a little bit more on that Farm to Fasool program, which is something that I am very heavily involved in. I coordinate directly with our program staff in Gaza to design more integrated programming to kind of meet Gaza's unique needs as the blockade continues to worsen, and it's harder to get things in and out of the Gaza Strip. So Michelle talked about how we have a few different program areas. One of those program areas is water and sanitation, and our most substantial water programming does take place in Gaza. You've probably heard that terrifying statistic that 97% of fresh water in Gaza is unfit for human consumption. It's either contaminated with sewage or it is has too high of a salinity level. Wells continue to be the go-to method for water extraction in Gaza, and ANERA is working to increase access to potable water through the Gaza Strip. While rehabilitating and constructing water wells in Gaza, we make sure to include a reverse osmosis unit to desalinate and decontaminate waters. Therefore, it is safe for human consumption. Over the course of several years of doing this programming, we realized that we could make this more sustainable and more resilient in the context of Gaza's ongoing emergency with energy and power cuts. You know, some days they go 12 to 18 hours without electricity. So we make sure that each of the reverse osmosis units has a solar panel and solar bank attached to it. Therefore, it can continue to function during these power cuts and also save the operators a substantial amount of income, because during power cuts, the go-to form of powering these reverse osmosis units was diesel fuel, which is incredibly expensive and also a high pollutant. In 2020 alone, ANERA's programs provided clean water access to 160,000 Palestinians in Gaza. We also worked with a wastewater facility to enable them to reuse treated water to fight fires and irrigate parks in Ramallah. This was something that was utilized during the May bombardment in Gaza, the wastewater that had been transitioned and treated so that it could be used by the various firefighters within the Gaza Strip. Clean water access is essential to life in general, but increasingly crucial over the last year in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. Since Gaza is one of the most densely populated areas in the world, clean water access remains crucial to sanitation efforts to help curb the spread of COVID-19 as we struggle to continue to get adequate vaccinations into the Gaza Strip. This is something that continues to be incredibly important. We've partnered with multiple healthcare clinics to ensure that they do have reverse osmosis systems that are functional and are powered by solar panels. And, again, in light of the May bombardment, we went and did surveys to make sure that all of these clinics were still operational, that none of the water systems that we had put in place had been damaged, and if they had been, we repaired those. We also, have used these water systems for water pumping programs for agriculture in North Gaza, as well as our rooftop hydroponic gardens, which Michelle touched on. So I'm going to transition into our agricultural programs. This is, something, again, that is more substantial in Gaza, but we do also have an agricultural presence in the West Bank. As I had mentioned before, Gaza is one of the most densely populated areas in the world. Additionally, some 60% of Gaza's population is food insecure and relies on assistance from organizations like ANERA to put proper food on their table. Since 2010, ANERA has constructed over 1,100 greenhouses in Gaza. The greenhouses featured earlier by Michelle's presentation are the hydroponic rooftop gardens. Unfortunately, the rooftop garden project was suspended during much of the COVID-19 pandemic as rooftop access required entering homes, and we wanted to ensure that vulnerable families weren't susceptible to the spread of COVID at all. However, we have been able to restart this program as we have safer ways to access homes. All of our staff are vaccinated in Gaza, and we have received multiple shipments of personal protective equipment. Sorry, I'm so used to hearing PPE that I forget what the acronym stands for sometimes. But we've received multiple shipments of PPE into Gaza that our staff are able to use and that we have donated to partner clinics as well. We have a very strong relationship with most of the partner clinics in Gaza, just because the Gaza Strip is very small. It's a very close-knit community of the millions of people who live there. Our greenhouse initiatives in Gaza do provide families with food for themselves and often excess produce that can be sold at the market, addressing food shortages in the Gaza Strip while earning the families an extra source of income as unemployment rates are pretty high in Gaza. This, program, this program just prior to the COVID-19 pandemic was selected to pilot and transition into that Farm to Fasool program, which was initially titled our Integrated School Feeding Program. So this is a transition in Gaza that ANERA is doing to integrate our programming, as we do have solid established programming in all of the different sectors that we work in since we've been in Gaza for so long, that we realized it makes more sense to draw on local expertise and labor rather than try and import things into Gaza as much as we can. Due to the blockade and various border closures, which we saw a lot of this past year. So these gardens are utilized to provide low-cost meals to students at selected beneficiary schools, which have high rates of students who suffer from malnutrition. The farmers sell their produce to the Women's Cooperative Society for Saving and Lending, which is an ANERA partner in Gaza that focuses on women's economic empowerment and providing spaces for women to gather publicly to kind of combat gender-based isolation that some women feel in Gaza. The women then cook the food into meals and distribute them at the selected schools. This program, the fantastic thing about this is because of the integrated nature, during the COVID-19 pandemic, when schools were closed due to COVID-19, we were able to shift to provide meals to families in self-isolation due to confirmed cases of COVID-19 or exposure to the virus. and we're able again to transition this program to meet the need in Gaza following the May bombardment. Following the ceasefire after the 11-day bombardment in Gaza, we were able to get to work pretty immediately due to the fact that our staff are from Gaza. They're all located in Gaza, and we have this integrated approach already. And I might sound like a bit of a broken record when I keep saying that our staff come from the communities they serve, but it's honestly the cornerstone of ANERA's programming and how we're able to respond immediately and find solutions that have a long-term impact, even when they are addressing immediate needs. Our staff did live through the assault. They didn't work during the assault as it was unsafe. We do try to prioritize making sure that, we're not putting anybody in a situation where they could be harmed or where they might be so physically, mentally or physically distressed that it carries over into their personal life. And obviously that is very hard to do somewhere like Gaza, where trauma seems to be an ongoing problem. So we have, again, as Michelle noted, the mental health resources are something that we are providing our staff in Gaza as well to ensure their personal well-being. And thanks to their tireless efforts, we had 3 shipments of emergency supplies and relief items ready at the border that the minute the crossing was opened, which was about 48 hours after the ceasefire. We were able to locally procure supplies in the West Bank and Jordan due to our teams there to ship into Gaza to meet the immediate needs of Gazans. Our work responding to the 2014 bombardment in Gaza as well allowed us to respond immediately, as we had a bit of a history in responding to this type of a situation in Gaza, unfortunately. On June 14th, a couple of days after the ceasefire, a little after, we received a 6-month supply of urgently needed blood testing kits to distribute to the Central Blood Bank Society in Gaza, which is a local nonprofit blood bank located in Gaza that serves 13 governmental hospitals. This came as during the May bombardment, the blood bank declared that they were at a 0 stock of blood testing kits. So without these kits, they would be unable to ensure that they were delivering blood free of HIV, hepatitis B, and hepatitis C, and other bloodborne diseases. So this was incredibly important to help ensure the well-being of people in Gaza, as there was an increased need for blood during this time. And then in partnership with World Central Kitchen and the Women's Cooperative Society for Saving and Lending, which was that partner that we do our integrated school feeding program with, our Farm to Fasool, we distributed 3,000 hot meals daily in 4 cities, Beit Hanun, Beit Lahia, Jabalia, and Gaza City, to the 1,100 families who had lost their homes in the assault. Meal distribution began May 23rd, the day after the ceasefire, with 300 meals distributed and continued to grow in capacity. Again, this program has come out of our school feeding program. It is now back to that school feeding program. I'm excited to say that as school has continued this year in person for the first time since the pandemic, there were a little bit of closures last year. So it was very, very hard for us to kind of have consistent programming there. But this entire semester so far has gone according to plan. So we have been able to serve those thousands of children daily their meals. This program employs, I believe, 35 women from the Cooperative Society for Saving and Lending and 25 of our rooftop garden beneficiaries to provide those meals. Currently, we're also working to procure additional medical supplies and arranging shipments from outside of the region to meet mid and long-term needs. Since these supplies will take longer to get into Gaza and procure. Like I'd said, we have another shipment of PPE coming in for COVID and emergency medical supplies for distribution in Gaza, which is fantastic. We also have 11 shipments of medical donations in process, which include acute and emergency medicines such as antibiotics, surgical supplies, as well as medications to manage chronic conditions like cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and high blood pressure. I'm not sure if you're aware, but cancer medication specifically is very hard to come by in Gaza, and a lot of people struggle to get permits to leave Gaza for a cancer treatment. So being able to ship these supplies in to meet the needs of different people going through different cancer treatments in Gaza has been incredibly vital for these families and has changed life or death situations. There's also been a lot of information this past year in the news about the assault in Gaza and the blockade, the other assaults that have occurred in the last 14 years. Like I had said earlier, the real cornerstone of how we have been able to respond to these is the fact that, our staff in Gaza has worked through it all. They know how to navigate these unique challenges and these obstacles. After each assault, we work to incorporate community development initiatives in Gaza, especially our psychosocial activities and support for children who are particularly vulnerable to the psychological effects of war. With these programs, we hope to give children a chance to release their anxieties through guided activities like drawing, dance, and acting, and provide caregivers with better support systems to help children cope with the traumas they have suffered. This is especially important as reports of mental health crisis continue to surface in Gaza. Michelle again touched on this, but this is something that, has long been overlooked, but we're seeing more and more in the recent years about how, trauma at such a young age can affect somebody's overall life outcome if they don't have the proper resources provided for them to help deal with this in a healthy and safe way. So we're trying to help Palestinians in Gaza at every age group to ensure that they're able to have the best livelihood. And this comes again, it becomes apparent in our different programming approaches. We have the water programs, we have the school feeding programs, we have the economic empowerment programs, which in partnership with the Cooperative Society for Savings and Lending focuses on women's economic empowerment specifically, as women have such a high rate of unemployment in Gaza. So we really are trying to touch on every sector of Gazan society to meet long-term needs while also addressing the acute immediate need, which is so severe in Gaza. Sorry, I've talked for quite a bit. I do want to give people an opportunity to ask any questions they might have before, I find another section of our work to focus on here in Gaza. Thank you so much again for having me.
Elizabeth, thank you very much. Folks, if you have a question, please unmute yourself and ask that question, and just mute yourself back and let Elizabeth answer that, and then we'll just go with that format. So if you have a question, just unmute yourself and ask it, and then mute yourself back. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, guys. Come on. Bob got a question.
All right. A quick comment first. The way I found out about ANERA several years ago was that I contacted UCF on their website and asked about how I could help in Gaza. And they said they were not allowed to go into Gaza. It is, and no international agency was allowed. So they worked with ANERA, and they gave ANERA such great praise and talked about all the great work it does. And I was really blown away by that. My question is, you were talking about having trouble getting medicines into Gaza. What is the problem with the Israeli authorities not allowing medicines automatically to go in? I don't understand.
There's a lot of bureaucratic mess is what I would call it, to tangle up the shipment process into Gaza just from the blockade. We have strict guidelines on how long a medicine is shelf stable before the expiration date that we can distribute. So a medicine has to be at least a year away from its expiration date in order for us to be able to distribute it. So sometimes these shipments will get stuck in port for longer than that, and we will be unable to distribute. So we need to calculate, about how long it would take for us to clear port. And this again is if the border is open and we're able to ship things into Gaza. The political situation does determine a lot of that. So we do have to be conscious of that and work around that. We have had to turn down some shipments as they were past that 1 year. They were closer to a year. We just want to ensure that we have the best quality medicine and that none of it will go to waste, since we do know that it is such a long process to get things into Gaza sometimes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you so much for the the praise. I always find it amazing how few organizations are actually able to work in Gaza. I know we have a lot of vetting processes. We have a lot of strict regulations that we do have to follow to be able to maintain our status in Gaza. It's not easy, it's not for the faint of heart, but we've been there from the start and we will continue to be there.
So Elizabeth, can you talk a little bit about, the amount of needs that Gaza has versus how much ANERA is able to take care of that need in terms of, let's just say, Gaza needs about $200 million worth of help, but ANERA can bring in only maybe 5 million. So,
Yeah.
you talk about that a little bit, please.
Yeah. So I had touched on this a bit. We do partner with a lot of on-the-ground organizations in Gaza, and our staff in Gaza do a lot of needs assessments. While I don't have exact dollar amounts, I do know that the need is substantial, and it's not something that any one organization can meet. I know most of Gazan society, civil society, does need a makeover, to say the least. The biggest needs, at least from my perspective, are definitely water needs. Most of the water infrastructure network in Gaza is outdated or, just not where it needs to be in order to ensure that people have clean and safe drinking water, which again, like I said, 97% of water in Gaza is unfit for human consumption. While, that is probably our biggest program focus in Gaza, we alone aren't able to meet that entire need. There definitely need to be changes in the situation itself. What ANERA's focus is to ensure that Palestinians in Gaza do have the essentials for livelihood, the best livelihood that we can ensure, as other people handle the political situation. As Michelle had noted, we are a non-political organization, so while that's happening, people's lives still do continue to go on. We also do focus on food security, as like I said, about 2/3 of people in Gaza are food insecure, which is a huge problem. Unemployment and poverty are also among some of the highest in the world in Gaza. So those are two sectors that we focus on there. Those are probably our biggest program sectors. In the West Bank, our bigger program sector would be education, like early childhood education. We build a lot of kindergartens and help with the curriculum there. But in Gaza, it's more of meeting immediate needs, so that people can continue on with their lives and, engage and try and find, a more long-term, a more permanent solution as we support them from, a humanitarian perspective. So the water programs are a big one. Our USAID funding was cut in 2019. All funding to Palestinian organizations was cut by the government. We are hoping to get that back under a new administration, but that is still a long process. A lot of that did go to infrastructure work, though. It was PCID is the name, but PCID. Off the top of my head, again, that's another acronym that I've heard so many times that I forgot the words that come from it. But that was, again, focused very heavily on water infrastructure. We have been able to find a lot of private donors and a lot of other donors to help us continue with our water infrastructure work. Like I had said, a lot of installations of reverse osmosis systems and rehabilitation of community wells and refitting with that solar power. And then with this integrated programming, with the rooftop gardens and the greenhouses that we're installing, a focus on food need specifically, and then the partnership with the various cooperatives for women, the focus on women's economic empowerment. So those would probably be our biggest areas that we're trying to support people in Gaza as the political situation continues to be what it is.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Don, did you have a question? Okay.
Does anybody else have
Anyone else have a?
I just want to say that it's not really a question, but hearing you, it makes me feel so spoiled and lucky, because we complain about things that are just nothing compared to what's going on in Gaza, and it's just heartbreaking be reminded of that, because it's just, I don't know how anybody can live in those conditions. It's just awful. So,
It's, yeah,
but great work, great work.
and then I would credit all of the work to our staff in Gaza, honestly. We're more here to support them. I am always astounded at the spirit and tenacity from all of my colleagues in Gaza. They are all some of the most optimistic people that I have spoken to. It's really something that has put a lot of, my own griefs and gripes into perspective, to kind of see just how strong the human spirit can be. They know that this is a situation that is in large part beyond their control, so they focus on the things that they can control, and they focus on the ways that they can give back to their communities. It's always, community first, rooted in community. It's incredible to see their perspective on everything and see, they see a problem and immediately it's, how do we fix this? They were all ready to work the second the ceasefire happened, back in May, because they were all just so determined to rebuild. And it gets harder each time, it really does. But they still go out there and they see a future, where a lot of people don't see a future, for Gaza. They see it and they work to bring it to reality.
You've spoken about helping women more than men. Is that you just have a focus on the women to get them more involved, or are the men finding work, or is it still in the normal proportion that it used to be?
So men do have more opportunities for work, than women. We do have men's inclusion in programs. So one of our programs that is about 50-50 would be we have a coding program called Reboot Camp, where we teach people in kind of a boot camp like structure, with no skills in coding at all. We teach them how to code. Before COVID, we had been trying at least to get permits for people to go to Amman, because a lot of people in Gaza have never been able to leave the Gaza Strip before. So this was a way for them to just get out and experience something else, kind of see what life is like outside of Gaza. Right now we are doing this remotely, so everybody is kind of still stuck in Gaza while they're learning, but this is a program in order to kind of help people work from anywhere. We've had a couple of people hired by Google and other organizations, while they're still based in Gaza. And this is a program that targets both men and women. We do have a specific branch for women's economic empowerment, since it is still lagging behind men's economic involvement in Gaza. A lot of this is based around cooperative like structures. So the women have a community built. Either this community is built already and we work within that, or we work to build a community between. So our Women Can program, which Michelle had mentioned, focuses on women who've been widowed, who are especially vulnerable because they often face some type of social stigma and are unable to earn enough income for them and their children. So we connect these women while also giving them entrepreneurial training so that they can open their own businesses. So it's an application process where these women kind of give a business pitch. We teach them the soft and hard skills of business, and then we provide them with the equipment and whatever needs they might have in order to get the business off the ground, and we ensure to connect them in a community. So the women's economic empowerment component also very heavily focuses on connecting women with each other to kind of break that social isolation and bring them into the same kind of sphere that the men already exist in.
Excellent.
I have another question. Do you get any help at all from the Israeli side of the border? Not necessarily the government, but maybe volunteers from the citizenry or whatever. Does that ever happen?
That does not. And my personal suspicion there is that it is just so hard to move across the border between Gaza and Israel that it would be a logistical nightmare. The restrictions make travel very difficult. Even our staff, who are American citizens based in the US and have, government approval to go visit Gaza to kind of coordinate with some of our field staff, still sometimes aren't able to go. It's just a very, very tedious process.
Hey, Elizabeth, does anybody have any questions? Yeah. All right. I gotta add this question because I think that because of the water crisis and one of my major projects when I was working was reclaiming water from all these wastewater sources. I noticed that ANERA has built a wastewater reclamation plant in Ramallah, but is there one in Gaza?
I'm trying to think. I I'm sorry, there's just a lot of different programs in Gaza. I personally am not involved in a lot of our water programs. I'm more involved in that feeding program. But I can definitely respond to you after this with more information about our wastewater treatment programs in Gaza because I am certain that they exist. There's kind of a notorious video in an era. Our CEO Sean Carroll, was in Gaza and was talking about our water programs and drank a glass of water that he thought was from one of our wells, but it was our treated wastewater. But it was still fit for human consumption. But it's kind of a little joke about our staff that he drank the treated wastewater. So I know it exists because of that video specifically.
Okay. Can you tell our attendees and our members how we can help ANERA and eventually how we can help folks in Gaza and West Bank?
Mhm. So I think one thing that May proved was education is very lacking. A lot of people in the US specifically don't really know much about Gaza, don't know about Palestine in general, because it's kind of a taboo topic to learn about or to talk about. So our website has a lot of information. We have, let me make sure I've got the correct heading for you before I direct you somewhere on our website. Let me just hit up the anera.org website and see which heading you would go under, because we have a lot of educational resources just because all of our staff are on the ground and able to do needs assessments. They come from these communities, they're all very highly qualified and have advanced degrees. Like they're all very specialized in what they do. So our Who We Are tab on our website, there's a resources subheader. So if you go there, we have newsletters, we have press kits, and then we have capacity statements and situation reports. So our situation reports would be the best place to get the most up-to-date information on what ANERA specifically is doing. In all of those, we give an overview of the context that we're doing this work in. So for all of our May Assault situation reports, we made sure to lead with explaining a brief history of how we got here in Gaza and in the West Bank. So educating different people in your local networks is very crucial in my personal opinion, just because people don't understand how big the need is in Gaza specifically. People see these overwhelming numbers and I don't think it really clicks that 2/3 of the population is food insecure. What does that mean? How many people is that? That's over 1 million people. That's a lot of people. I think it's really hard to contextualize this without just rereading it and processing it. So that would be my first thing, is just checking out the resources on our website. Even our blog has stories written by our field staff about their perspectives from living through these situations and dealing with them firsthand. And those are all phenomenal pieces. Again, I'm very grateful to be with the people I work with because they are just phenomenal. And then we currently don't accept volunteers in our field offices just because, again, sending somebody over into an area that experiences, frequent violence is not necessarily the easiest thing to do. So our biggest things are donation and fundraising based. I head up our monthly giving program, so I am a big champion of that. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but $5, $10 a month does add up over the course of a year. And it's also the source of funding that we draw on to meet immediate needs during crises. So it's this stable source of income that we're able to budget. So if a crisis happens, we know how much is coming in this given day just from monthly donations. So that's really important. Those also do go beyond immediate needs. They, are again that stable source of income that provides the groundwork for our long-term needs. And another thing, if personal donations aren't within your budget, we do have peer-to-peer fundraising capabilities. So you would set up your own fundraiser and then kind of send it out to your own audience. And that's again where the education aspect I think is really big. You can kind of educate the people within your own personal network about all of these different needs that are in Gaza and Palestine, more generally, and then kind of let them know about the work Anera is doing and a way that they can donate, through a fundraiser for a specific cause in Palestine that you've set up. So that would be my biggest ways of how people can help.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Does anybody else have any questions? Susie, you're mute. You need to mute yourself. Here, let me see. Okay, there we go.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted now. I've got a question for you. I understand we're being recorded. Would it be possible for you to distribute a link to the recording?
Yeah, I normally do that, and I will within a week of the meeting, I will share the link to the recording. It's recorded on a YouTube. So Ruth gives me the YouTube link, and as soon as I get it, I will distribute it to the membership, the entire membership. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
Well, if nobody else has any questions, I really want to thank you, Elizabeth, and please thank Michelle for preparing that wonderful presentation. And I want to thank Bob to bring Anira to our group's attention, because I didn't know. I mean, I'm a big supporter of the Palestinian cause, and we have had several different organizations come to our chapter to speak, but this is really the first time that we have heard from Anira. So this is really amazing, and thank you both, Bob and Elizabeth.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
having me.
Elizabeth.
No, thank you. And thank you for inviting me. This has been a fantastic opportunity. I'm always very excited to share Anera's work. It's a little hard to find an audience that's passionate about the work we do, but once we find them, it's a great experience. I feel like a lot of people don't know about Anera. I know, I didn't know about Anera until I was doing this research, and then I stumbled upon them because of this educational material. So it's great to spread what we're doing.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, folks. So let's see. Our next meeting is on the 3rd of January. And we are working really hard to bring another great speaker from some organization that we're working with several different organizations. So let's see who comes up, but put it on your calendar, save the date, same time, first Monday of the month, 6:15 p.m. Central Time. Okay.
Will do.
Bob, do you have anything to add?
No, I just wanted to thank Elizabeth again for doing such a good job. And I'm so grateful for all of you who have shown up. And I will be looking forward to that link. I will probably send it out to some people, because this really needs to be seen by several other people.
Yeah. And just a quick note about the membership. Our chapter membership goes from January through December. So next month is the first of the new year. And so I put the information on where to mail your check, because now that we have Louisa as our new treasurer, I put in her home address. That's where the checks need to go, so she can take them and deposit them in the bank. We are working on making that online capability, so you can do it using a credit card, but it may take some time, because we're still kind of learning all that new stuff. Okay. So just give us some time, and thank you very much.
Okay.